I came down here yesterday to the immigration services and asked what is the legal route, what is the legal path, and there is one. A lot of people are choosing it, but it's fear-based messaging that Mr. Oberweis is engaged in that's causing a lot of people to hide in the shadows instead of seeking the legal route to becoming a U.S. citizen. So if anybody has questions for myself and Mr. Monroe, or go ahead. We'll be happy to take them. The question is, what do I think of Mr. Oberweis's plans for increased border security? And he's talking about, as item 1 on his literature is, the idea of a fence protecting our northern and southern borders. This is all political speak. That 1 does not address the problem, and 2, it's my fundamental belief that the immigration debate should be completely separate from the idea of national security. Now I know he's framed it in a national security light here, but at the same time I think he's trying to blur the issues and they should be separated. If we are going to pursue national security, which I think we should, to keep our ports, airports, and northern and southern borders free from terrorists, then we should pursue that. Now the job of Congress, of course, is to fund that effort. It's not to enforce that effort. It's not to enforce immigration laws on the books. Our job is to rewrite the laws, to make sure that there's an efficient path towards citizenship, and write any necessary laws to make sure that we have secure borders.
Is immigration going to be, is this going to be the big issue for this race?
I think that they want it to be. I think that that's the biggest problem, is that the Republicans are turning to a message of fear. And as I pointed out, they have nothing in here that addresses the healthcare crisis. They have nothing in here that addresses the war in Iraq. And they want to stimulate fear in the hearts of Americans to create, to get them out to the polls. That's what this is about, and that's part of their strategy. And it has a very negative side effect that I discussed here, and to the point where people start to accept things that cede our civil liberties, like national ID card. So, I, of course, want this debate to be about health care, want it to be about the economy. I want this election to be about the war in Iraq and a referendum on the Republicans' mishandling of that effort. Because they don't have a message, they're turning to fear and hoping to stimulate fear within the hearts of Americans. That's the wrong direction for our country to go.
Could you comment on Dennis Hastert's cutting and running from his congressional seat and his responsibility to the 14th Congressional District?
Well, Dennis Hastert's choice to retire, if it was for medical reasons, I think it would be understandable. I think this is more Dennis Hastert putting the concerns of the Republican Party before putting the concerns of the district and the voters of this district who chose him over myself in 2006 to represent them on the floor of the House. I can tell you, when I'm elected in the special election and in the 2008 general election, I will serve my term.
Do you think a special election helps you at this point?
I think a special election gives the voters an opportunity to choose a new course, not only on immigration, but on Iraq, someone who has served in the Middle East, and who can provide leadership, because there's no leadership on the floor of the House. This is just like the immigration debate. You've got both Republicans and Democrats who are caving to Bush's message, stated course message, and his growing fear-based message in Iran, and it's why we need a leader. As far as the timeline, we don't know what that timeline is, so it's hard to comment as to whether that timeline is going to help or hurt, but certainly I think it's a great opportunity for the voters of this district to get a leader.
Would you have supported that immigration bill that failed last year?
The biggest problem with that bill is it did not address the root cause, which is NAFTA and the global imbalance of trade, which we have to put into the debate, as far as I'm concerned. And I've said on the record that I will not vote for a bill that doesn't address that root cause, the global trade imbalance. And I think it's actually a way to unify and get the votes necessary to move a comprehensive immigration bill forward that does all the things that I talked about. Mainly levelizing the economies of Mexico and America and China and America, to go back to an economy where we have a made in America economy, as I stated, where we're not trying to look for cheap and export cheap labor and find cheap labor, but we're creating markets for our goods. So that has to be in the fulcrum. So I would not have voted for that bill, because it needs to have that component, which no one's talking about with the exception of a select few. Any further questions? Any questions for Arthur and Bertha? I learned a lot about immigration the other day. You know that most people go through FBI. Well, you have to go through an FBI check already, and this is one of the things that, again, you know, Mr. Oberweis is saying we need to have background checks part of it when they're already part of the system. It's fear mongering. It's not policy. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate you guys being here. Don't sound quite I love your coat, by the way. It's very nice.